IT department.
Yo, what's good? It's Isaiah Velez. Welcome to another episode of The Projection, episode 2 to be exact. I have a little bit of a special thing to share this go around. Instead of it being an ordinary recording process, I want to shout out Medial Point. If you don't follow him on IG, look up Medial Point, you'll find his name. He shares a lot of alternative rap in the Christian space. And IT department, aka myself and Timmy Arisa, we had the opportunity to have a great podcast conversation with him. And I felt like when it comes to the idea of the projection, right, breaking down projects, there's no need to have another convo when we've already had a great conversation with somebody about our project, about the IT department EP that we dropped back in 2024. So I thought I would just take that and throw it in here. So that's what you're about to hear a bit of. Make sure you follow everybody that I just mentioned in IG, on IG. Follow Medial Point, follow Isaiah Velez, follow Timmy Arisa, IT department. We've got more stuff coming in the next year. And so thank you for taking a listen, and I hope you enjoy this latest episode of The Projection.
Party with my parents. It was like a Nigerian party, and a lot of these parties would have like a separate area for the kids. And so they had like this separate area for the kids, and they had a DJ in there, and this DJ was playing hip hop. And I remember vividly, bro, watching these kids hear these songs and go crazy. And I was like, I don't know these songs. Like, how does everyone else know this stuff and I don't? Yeah. You know? And so I remember I used to like go home and like there used to be some time that we would be home alone after school, and I would just listen to the radio. Wow. Like I just started listening to the radio. And that's what kind of turned me on to, like, again, quote unquote, secular music. And then I just kind of that was mainly just like top 40 stuff. But then I started to develop my own taste as I got older. And in high school, I feel like it was when I really started to kind of develop my own taste and really got into hip hop with Kanye. And Childish Gambino was like, I remember the first time I heard Childish Gambino, and like he's like probably my favorite rapper ever. Wow. And Childish, Kanye, Kendrick, Drake, like all those guys, like I got really into hip hop, and then I've just kind of been in that ever since. When I moved to college, I went more indie. I was in Tulsa with a bunch of white boys, so I started listening to a bunch of indie pop and the 1975 and like stuff like that. So that's when I got more into like more pop stuff. But yeah, that's kind of been my journey. It's very eclectic. I don't consider myself to be an incredible producer by any means. I think I'm a good singer. I think I'm a great singer and have good instincts, and that's what I really lean on. I think I just have really good taste, and I've got good instincts, and I have more or less an opinion on what I want things to look and sound like, and that's what I really bring to IT department.
Yeah, my name is Isaiah Velez. I'm the other half of IT department. I've been making music since I was like 14, 15, probably writing and rapping since I was like 11 or 12, but when I figured out how to actually record with some friends, I'd say it was around like 14, 15, using our iPhones and flip phones to put little audio files together on like OG DAWs and stuff. But yeah, man, I love the act of creating, and I fell in love with it with my friends. And so for me, I feel like a lot of my exploration of music as an artist is in tandem with a lot of my friends. I like to make and write music that is how I live life. So I live life with my friends, then it doesn't make any sense to make music apart from them. So I learned that in New York. That's where I'm from, Nyack, New York, a little town right across the bridge from the city, right over the Hudson River. And grew up there for a good 26 years I was there. And then I moved my family down to Dallas, Texas. We've been here for about 4 years, which is crazy. So yeah, Timmy and I met, what was that, 2023 again, you said?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like instantly we connected. And I feel like we had journeyed through a lot of things that were similar. I too, ministry background. I graduated from college with an English degree, and I used that as a youth pastor, as a full-time job straight out of college. Yeah. And then I did that for 4.5 years, eventually going from part-time to full-time by becoming a young adults pastor as well. So I did youth and young adults at my church. And yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience. It was a beautiful experience. It was also a painful experience in a lot of ways too on the back end. Mm-hmm. And I think that all makes its way into the music that we've created. And I was grateful to meet Timmy because, and I texted him this morning, but like this project in particular was a very cathartic project for us. So I'm really excited to have this conversation because we have yet to have this conversation with somebody else.
Very true. Very true.
So shout out to George. Okay, George Gutierrez. Honor Creative House on Instagram. He is the department of IT department. Couldn't be here with us tonight, but when it comes to everything videography wise, what you're seeing when you interact with it on the internet, George is the one that's giving a say on how that should look. So that's our creative producer in so many different ways. So shout outs to homie. But yeah, he's the reason why we even met. So truly a creative producer, like on every level. Him and Timmy knew each other from college. Shout out ORU. And then when I moved down here, I was looking for a church, and I was having a hard time finding community here in Dallas. My wife and I were really going through a tough time with my daughter, and we found a church up the street called Central Church. We walked in on the first Sunday of like 2023, and the person that was preaching was this like short Mexican guy that was the creative worship pastor. He introduced himself as George, and his message hit us right between the eyes, and we were like, yo, this is exactly where we're supposed to be.
Wow.
So it was that connection with him that then led to a friendship that then when Timmy was back in town, which he could tell you about, he was like, yo, you need to go meet my boy Timmy. Timmy and I got together at a local coffee shop right up the road, and we sat there for hours just talking, man, and right there I knew it was over. I knew it was gonna be homie. So
the beginning.
I remember here's the exact moment where IT department was birthed in my mind. I remember one day I was sitting in my room, playing on my computer, listening to Paris, Texas. I just love their like off-kilter, left of center alternative sound. And I was like, yo, we could do this. Like we could easily do something like this. I remember texting Isaiah in that moment and being like, bro, we should do a project. Like we should just do something. And I think I came up with the name IT department right then and there. And it's really just a play on our names. Just I was like Isaiah, Timmy, IT department. But it was like we could actually lean way into that whole vibe and aesthetic of like an actual IT department. And I think Isaiah kind of took it further with like there's like the J. Cole line of like what's that J. Cole line?
It's like the one who you call when you can't connect. It's like I got a job in IT on that first person shooter song with Drake. Yeah, facts. So it was like that level too. It's like, okay, we're connecting you in the concept of IT, but also like connecting you to the Lord, connecting you to people left and right of you. And that's kind of the whole, and also celebrating our connection at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the craziest part about the project was how quickly it just kind of fell out. Like, I think there's something beautiful with unity. I think the moment that you make a decision and you're united, I mean, the Bible says unity commands a blessing. That's the quickest that a project has ever just fallen out. What would happen would literally, I would make a beat and then I would just like give it like, and take it to our session and then we'd make a song with it. Like out of almost all the beats, with the exception of one, were all made for that project and within the time span that we were working on that project. The last song, I'm Good, was a beat that I made when I lived in LA, but everything else was made like the night before I'd make it and then boom, send it. Like it was Saturday like kind of crazy. Yeah, like Saturday night I'd make something and then I'd bring it to the session on Sunday and we'd be like, all right, there we go, boom, run it. You know what I mean? So that was it was a crazy time of just doing it. Like we were just like, let's do it. And I don't know. I don't know if I expected more like resistance. I don't know, but everyone was just so down. Like from the moment we had the idea, it was just immediate. Yeah, let's go. Like even George was like, yeah, let's do it. Like let's run it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like we're friends. So this is from the overflow of our friendship. I literally have a voice memo on my phone where we sat down and we talked about our intentions for this project before we made a single thing. We just were like, if we were to create a project called IT department, what would be the goal? And then actually that voice memo is what you find snipped up and put throughout the 5 tracks. That's definitely like how it started creative process wise. We vision casted together. Okay, this is where I'm at in life. Timmy has things he's working through. I have things I'm processing. George even has thoughts about the way things feel sometimes. And we're like, okay, what does it look like now to take these things we're wrestling with in our walk with the Lord and our walk as men and like just figure out as humans, how to like put this on a track. So then kind of what Timmy just said earlier, he would come with this beat and it would just become the backdrop of the latest thing that we were wrestling with. But what was super dope is that there are some songs that are really reaching deep into the bag of the soul and like really talking about some stuff that like we're really wrestling with. Like if you know us, you know we're talking about something that's really, really like serious to us. But then there are other songs where it was like things were happening in the moment of our lives. Like that week, something happened and we're like, let's write a song about that. That sounds perfect, you know? And I think when you put that real stuff in there, a part of the creative process, that's part of that world building, right? Because I used to have an English professor that used to say, you create a vortex for people. You don't describe what it is that you want them to feel. You give them something to shoot themselves through and find what they want within that space. And I think like that's what we were doing with the creative process from the beginning.
IT on their first single, Last Time.
When I brought Last Time to the crew, I didn't think we would use the vocals that I had put on there, because that song came from a YouTube video that I watched about how to make music like Bon Iver. So I like Bon Iver, and I was just watching some YouTube video, and they're talking about how he does his vocal chops. And I have the OP1. Bon Iver uses this a lot. So I like just was messing with the vocal chop, and that like you hear at the very beginning, that that's like my voice in the OP1 like reversed, and that's what kind of was the springboard for the whole song. And then I remembered like he said he has like some song, I don't know, he like says a lot, like in his music he'll like say a lot of like commands and stuff. And so I was really just trying to channel like Bon Iver. So that's where this like grab your coat came from. And in my mind it was from this idea, similar idea, but it was from this idea of like me talking to a girl and being like, all right, leave, but you know you're gonna be back. You know
and go grab your coat.
Like, exactly, like grab your coat, you know what I mean? Like very Bon Iver-esque kind of lyric, you know? And even the grab your coat, like that's like me trying to be Bon Iver, you know what I mean? Like that's even cool. Just like that, the everything about it. So what's crazy is like bringing that to the team as like just like a, well, hey, here's what I made the other night. Like I don't think it's good. Like I'll probably delete all this stuff. And then having Isaiah be like, nah, bro, that's hard. You know We should keep that. I'm like, all right, if you say so. But then seeing Isaiah flip that idea to what it then became, I think it was really cool. And then he found the quote that goes at the end. Yeah. And that like really put it all together, and it's insane. And then the voice at the end, that's my sister. We have my sister read that.
Shout out Ivy.
Shout out Ivy. Shout out Ivy. And it was just a cool process of like bringing an idea that I didn't initially think would be anything. Yes. But then watching it turn into something completely different than what I had originally imagined for it, you know, like that probably would have been something that would have just sat on my hard drive and would have never been released, you know, had it not been for IT department.
Isaiah's philosophy on connection through collaboration.
I remember back in college, I was really obsessed with personality tests, and there was a personality test that was really big called StrengthsFinder, which is something that a lot of professional teams use, where it gives you like your top 5 strengths, and you could be like, you know, a commander, or maybe you're good at wooing people, or maybe you're good at finding resolutions. And then mine was connectedness. And they say like people who have the connectedness strength look up in the stars at night and they see shapes, they see things. And I think like in the beginning, that's what I thought that this was. I thought it was just like, okay, I study these concepts so deeply that I can find a human thread in all these things that are connected in some way, shape, or form. But as I've gotten older, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it has more to do with trying to find what God is doing. And I think like trying to keep an eye out for those concepts amidst the creative process is one of my favorite things about creating in the first place. So you made a joke about the podcast. I'll throw that in there too. Stop playing with me. It's because, man, at the end of the day, like half these podcasts are the culmination of connected ideas in some way, you know, and that's what these projects become for me too. A lot of song concepts become for me. That's one of those things, man. Like you ever go to like a Bible study and then like you hear a verse that's being like studied, and then like on Sunday you hear the same verse, and then like you're in the car and you're listening to the radio, and the guy on the radio says something that's really similar to what was said on that verse, and then you hear a song and that one artist, you like these connected moments. I try to stay listening for those things that God might be trying to clue me into, and I think that's a muscle that allows me to then do that in the creative context.
Creating the sound palette of IT department.
I don't think there was much conversation into like the sound palette itself. I think a lot of it was just like I was just bringing what I had, and we'd be like, that's cool, let's run it, let's go with it, and like call it imposter syndrome or what. And I know what Isaiah is going to say, but I don't consider myself to be a great producer by any means. Like, so I feel like we could have done more with the production. If we're talking about leaning into the internet vibe, I would love to see in the future a more concerted effort to build out the world sonically when it comes to like the internet sound. Like I love Childish Gambino, obviously, and like hearing him talk about like because the internet and like how that intro sound to the album is like a computer turning on. You know what I mean? Like I would love to have something like that where it's like here's like a musical motif that is like, it's like like the Netflix, you know what I mean? Like something that's like all right, the computer's turning on. Like I think we could have leaned more into it that way. But I did try to keep things somewhat electronic, very distorted, and it's hard to know like how much of those thoughts were like at the top of our minds while we were making it. Again, I feel like unity commands a blessing, man. I think the moment that you decide together that you want to do things, like something happens. And so I think we just kind of got lucky with a lot of this stuff.
I think Timmy's full of crap, low key, me personally. We used to call that loud mouthing back in college. We used to call that loud mouthing when you downplaying the fact that you're nice or something. That's what we used to call it. Listen, I feel like production is a very subjective term these days because of the fact that like producing a thing, like the executive producer of a movie is often somebody who will supply the materials necessary to get the film done. Like Timmy is an excellent producer. Maybe he's not the most amazing engineer or the most amazing mixer or the most amazing masterer. Like that's fine. I'm cool with that if you want to say that. But Timmy is an eclectic producer. He's able to not only see the way that the music will connect with the people, but on top of that, I feel like part of the reason why we had this vibe is because Timmy lives in this era eternally. Low key, he lives in the 2000s like retro era. Like ask Timmy how many analog things he holds, or you know what I mean. And I think when we got in the studio, he was like very much like, nah, we got to keep it like in this pocket. And I think that became a backdrop that we all loved. There was a time when we thought we might there was a placeholder art for the untitled link of the project, and it was just like this picture of a pile of dead computers, literally, like you just said, bro. Like that was literally what the photo was. And it was like, when you got a Pinterest board, you know what I mean? But like Timmy came with a lot of the elements of said Pinterest board. So don't let him sit here and act like he didn't produce nothing, when the music definitely had a tinge of that because it came from somebody that's in that space for sure. I come from a world where you said clash of styles. I come from like a bunch of different beats. My big thing is I like to take my pen on a journey and go through whatever I can to try doing whatever I can. Like that's my favorite. Timmy is very succinct in regards to like a pop sound or more of a sound that catches the ear of the listener in a way that I'm not as concerned with. So when we would clash in the studio, it would be for those moments. It would be moments where I'm like a little too heady or I'm too deep or it's not as accessible. So we balanced each other out amidst the writing process by coming from those two different realms as well, which is why, like you said, having that unity and being in a collaborative space like that can really get you to places you can never get to on your own.
The pop sound really comes out when we play it live. Like when we did the IT department stuff at Arisa Fest, I remember in the rehearsals, I was like, dang, this sounds so happy. Like it's a deconstruction in a major key.
It's the light. It's the brightest thing I made. Like up until that point, that was the brightest thing. I mean, I know last time was an extremely dark music video, but ultimately, like, yeah, bro.
Yeah,
I usually make songs in minor for sure. But yeah,
deconstruction in a major key is the project, and I didn't realize that until we played it live. And then you hear it, and you're like, oh, this is I don't know. It's very, very brighter than I thought, because with all the sounds and stuff on the actual recording, you can kind of mask some of the brightness. But when you put a full band behind it, you realize how bright it actually is. But
facts.
Anyway.
IT department discusses Say Anything in the interlude and the follow-up track Understand.
Yeah, man. I mean, say anything was another one of those things where I think I did say anything on a Sunday after a session. I think I went home after one of our sessions, pulled up the guitar and just made that. And it's so funny about that song because like I tried to play that song again on the guitar and I don't even remember how I played it. Like it's one of those. Like it's one of those where you're just like
This was
you're
one of the
just
ones
in the
that popped
flow.
out in this season. Yeah, in this season.
That came out as we were already like in the throes of working on IT department. So yeah, man, I just started with that guitar beat, put the drums on there. Was very inspired by Daniel Caesar. So the melodies and stuff is like, it's what I do. Like I'll hear something and be like, this reminds me of so and so, and I essentially just do my best impression of them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So that like we're undercover. That's like da na 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 da na 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 na, whatever that song is. My blue jeans are flying all. But that's essentially just me doing my own interpolation of Japanese denim. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And then like obviously like the Frank Ocean like inspired like high voice thing that kind of like mimics the girl, which that's a callback to my single Another Disappointment, where I do the same high voice thing. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of things, and that me just kind of freestyling, which is how I do most of my stuff, is just like stream of consciousness. Here's what's on the top of my mind. And I was just kind of freestyling like this idea of like, say what you want, say what you mean. I'll give my all, like this kind of yearning for honesty, which really I think comes from me. But I think even more so was, you know, I'm really big on texture and adding different textures into our music, especially ones that come from real life. The opening scene of the door opening and me getting into a car is like me getting into an Uber, because at the time I didn't have a car. So I was like Ubering to everywhere. Essentially, I was paying like $500 a month in Ubers. It was crazy. But how that plays into the whole like project is like, in the whole narrative of IT department, it's like me Ubering on my way to a session, and this is what's kind of playing in my mind as I'm journeying, to this session that we're about to have together, which leads into Understand, where we finally get back together in the room and we had this conversation about, I hate that I can't understand you. You know what I mean?
Because Timmy's writing style, which I had not been exposed to with someone in a collaborative space just yet, is that he does freestyle a melody. He'll freeze, and then he'll like find a line, say anything, and then we'll go, oh, okay, now if I'm using my connective power juices and you have say anything, how do we trail a verse back to this thing you found? And then we'll start collaborate. Oh, what about this? And then George is in the room like, nah, say this, and we're like, yeah, no, that's good, we like that. You know, that's how we wrote some of the hooks and some of the verses. So that song heavily inspired also like by Jon Bellion, and the fact that if you go and you listen to Human Condition or you listen to Glory Sound Prep, whenever Jon Bellion writes a song about a woman or about a girl, those lyrics can also be like love songs to God as well. There's like this respect for the idea of love that he writes in this kind of loose way that I think we also kind of captured on Say Anything, which was dope. So when you get into Understand is where we're being a lot more blunt, while Say Anything has this more like general feel to it. Which is why it's interlude. You know what I mean? Like, let me give you some paint that you can use. And then on this next track, we're going to go ahead and put it on the canvas. You understand? And then like, Understand for me was about my wife. We're going through a season of a lot of marital tension and just growing pains. You know what I mean? They say like the first four or 5 years of being married is the hardest period, because you're just trying to understand each other, right? It's like being married is taking 2 whole gallons and trying to fit it into one. And that means you have to pour out half of yourself in order for you to even fit in that gallon, right? And I think like that verse was me reflecting on, how do I use this 16 I have on this song to get her to understand how much she means to me? But then at the same time, how do I get her to understand how much I am sorry for what I put her through in the process of marriage? Then at the same time, how do I use this 16 to understand her more as well? And like, that's what the Understand motif kind of was for me on that verse. So as you listen to it, now that I've said that, you'll hear these threads that I was kind of playing on all together.
IT department discusses the final track, I'm Good, Falling Apart.
I moved to LA on the back end of a divorce, and I was there trying to just like heal, which is for me, it was probably the worst place to go do that. So like I leave and I come back and we're having these conversations in these sessions, and I have this beat that I made, which it samples, and I hope no one finds this out because we didn't get it cleared. The idea of the song comes from the actual song that we sample itself. We sampled
Redacted.
the chorus of that song says, "Keep your head up, something, something, even though it's a cruel world." It's like this idea of like, life sucks, but keep your head up. You know what I mean? So we basically took the idea of the sample of what the song and the sample is talking about and brought it into what we're talking about on that song specifically. And we moved it around. Like I had it laid out a little bit more like a traditional rap beat, like intro, hook, verse, hook, hook. Isaiah was the one who kind of was like, nah, let's do our verses back to back. You know what I mean? And, you know, kind of go from there and gave it this hook. And he wrote a lot of the, he wrote I think he wrote the entire refrain at the end. But here's one thing I will say, and I remember about this song specifically, is I remember that we were in the process of writing the hook that George sings. Our boy George is actually the voice that sings the hook.
That sings the hook.
Yeah. I remember as we were writing the hook, it was really like, to me, it felt kind of cheesy. And this is a thing with me. I'm kind of similar to you. Like there are a lot of times we'll start something and I don't like it. And to me, it felt too on the nose. And as we kind of kept writing it and tweaking the lyrics, that whole idea of like, hey, this is like, it was at first, there wasn't any of the like the, you know, fall, I'm on the ropes. Like there wasn't any of this like defeative or, you know, whatever defeat language. It was more like all kind of good and triumphant. And I kind of pushed back against that. I was like, nah, like that's not realistic. Like, I feel like we need to like be a little bit more realistic about just life. Like life sucks sometimes, you know what I mean? Like sometimes things don't go well, but we're all right. So that idea of like, we're putting in some of the negative stuff, but we're not dwelling there. It's like, hey, life's a fight and I'm on the ropes. I guess that's just how it goes. I'm falling apart, but I'm good. Like, I think we kind of encapsulated everything that we are trying to say on the project in that one song. And I mean, Isaiah mentioned this earlier, like we have bits and pieces of the voice memo all throughout. Right before that song drops, you hear me say, what are we doing with IT department besides just making dope stuff? And I said this before, but I feel like the hook of that song and that song specifically answers that question. This is what we're trying to do with IT department. We're trying to just be honest. We're trying to go first and say the things that other people may not want to say. Bro, I mean, who wants to sit here and be like, yo, a girl gave me her number and I called her and it was nothing. No one, that's not stuff you brag about. Everyone's bragging about all the girls that won't stop calling them, not the girls that don't pick up when they call. You know what I mean? Like, but that's real life, bro. For every dude that's got whatever, he's got a couple of them that have been like, nah, bro, I'm not messing with you. You know what I'm saying? But they won't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think with IT department, we're just trying to be honest. You know, we're trying to say the quiet part out loud. You know what I'm saying? We're saying the things that people don't want to always say, especially as believers, Believers have such a tendency to just be fake, especially in the South. I grew up in Texas. I'm from the South. Like we show up to church and we've all got our Sunday best on and, oh, I'm just blessed. I'm just this, I'm just that. But
Hallelujah.
But your car got repossessed and you're going through a divorce and like all this stuff. Like you're actually you're actually in the trenches right now, but you got to like put on a face. And honestly, like I talked about this before, like as IT department continues to grow, I only want to get more honest. You know what I mean? I don't like, we didn't piss enough people off on this project. Like I'm trying to piss off more people. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get more real. I'm trying to tell you what I do on Friday nights when nobody's looking. You know what I mean? Like, let's have those conversations. Let's actually be real.
IT2 has some of that on there. Don't worry.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's actually be real, bro. Let's actually be real about what's happening. Like when people don't see, like, especially me as someone who spent time in front of people since I was 12 years old. People literally watch me grow up on stage, leading them in worship, and have put me on this pedestal and expected me to be a certain ways. I'm like, bro, expectations, bro. I'm a real human being, and I do. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you, and it doesn't mean that I don't love God or that I don't. Anyways, I told you I would start ranting, bro. I told you I would start ranting, and here I am. Anyway,
I think that's it though, right? Like I think that's the point. You know, ultimately, and Medial, you'll understand this, bro. Like. For me personally as an artist, that is the niche I want to insert myself into. My goal is to rile up your flesh and comfort you in your faith as much as I possibly can. That's my goal. Like I feel like that through rap is what I think Christian hip hop is very much missing. Because like I said on the Unprofessionals podcast, like Timmy is saying now, there's this like faceplate, this religion, these rules that really are kind of like still deeply embedded in a lot of the mechanisms of CHH. And I think it's time that we let that go, because religion against relationship, it's never going to win. It's never going to be authentic. It's never going to go from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet of the people who you're speaking to or you're trying to shed a light on. That's what this song really was about ultimately, which is why it needed to conclude in a big way. It needed to conclude in a way. I felt like that refrain is it's almost like a baptizing, light shining, this is my son with whom I'm well pleased type moment. And then when you go back into the beginning of the song, the project off the loop, you're completely like different. So like here, your experience was exactly that, means what we did works, which is dope. And that makes me hype. But yeah, you can find the little tidbits. The title on the way it's listed, it says I'm good. And then in parentheses, it says falling apart. So the lines are these oxymoronic tension between like this and that and this. There's a tension that exists in walking with Christ. If we're not honest about how in our humanity, how our flesh pisses us off, how we have a hard time getting out of bed, how there's things that we carry, then how can God use our stage of a soul, of a life to get his glory if we're not going to be honest about all those things? Like that's what we wanted to put on one song and then have trickle through the rest. So that's definitely what that one was about.
It's a great song. I love that song so much. I think that's one of my best verses ever. I mean, shout out to everyone in the room who helped me write it. But I love that.
It was your energy, bro. It was your energy that was immaculate on there. And then if you go to the website too and you click around on a couple things, you can find our behind the scenes, and there are like videos of Timmy recording that particular verse, and it's like a great clip. You have to watch it.
IT department discusses which artists or bands they could see themselves opening up for.
Hillsong United.
I knew you were going to say something like that, bro. How did I know you were going to say something like that, bro?
I'm kidding. That's
you partially mean it like 5 times.
Young and Free, actually. Elevation Rhythm.
I would love to open up for like Kings, bro. Kings King's Kaleidoscope is an absolutely huge inspiration for me, especially in my writing style. And I think when we talk about Christians creating them in that contemporary kind of rock sound and also kind of alty in that space as well, there's never been enough respect or love given to them for what they do, and the fact that they have created songs that have been sung in churches, but at the same time have gone edgy and dropped F-bombs on a record after people were expecting more church songs. Like they've done these things that are very subversive toward the way church culture is designed, and I would love to open for exactly that type of vibe, like the type of venue where there are Christians in the crowd but there's still a bar and everyone's drinking. That's my vibe. I think IT department will go hard in that space. You know what I mean? Yeah, that would definitely be my answer. What about you, T?
I don't know. That's really hard for me to answer, because I do feel like a tension that I feel in my life is like, I feel like I'm oftentimes too worldly for the church, but too churchy for the world. You know what I mean? So I don't like being like, sometimes I don't even really like being identified with Christian hip hop at all. Like right. I just have such a visceral reaction when it comes to the label of like Christian anything aside from like worship music. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, a lot of our content is so faith-based that I feel like people who are not believers would have a hard time with it as well, would have a hard time understanding what it is. So I do think that we kind of serve this underrepresented population of like believers that believe in God, but may not be like the most devout, like Christians, you know what I mean? Like maybe there are people like me, Isaiah, myself, who've grown up in this, but still, wrestle with this, that, or the third. So I don't know. It's really hard. Like, I don't really think there's anyone. I think King's K, like I kind of expected Isaiah to say King's K. They kind of fit that. And I'm not super tapped into the space to really understand who else. And then also, like, even within the Christian hip hop space, like I love Paris Chariz, but I don't think Paris Chariz's people would love us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like his music is just a little different. Like I like Aha Gazelle, but I don't think Aha Gazelle's audience, I don't think his audience would necessarily understand what we're doing. Like, I mean, you said it, like, I've got the suburban vibe. Like I was always the black kid that the other black kids were like, who the heck is that guy? You know what I mean? What is he on? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like we kind of exist in this weird in-between space where it's hip-hop, but it's not quite hip-hop, and it's Christian, but it's not quite Christian, and it's this, but it's not quite that. So it's like I can't think of anyone else that kind of is also in that same in-between place.
Yeah.
Charles Gambino.
Yes.
Bino.
Yeah.
Charles
Good
Gambino.
answer.
That's the answer. Bino.
Isaiah shares his disdain for inauthenticity in Christian rap.
That's the thing, right? No, we're gonna talk about it. It doesn't even have to be a question. The thing is, like, we could tell when that's something that is organically coming out of you, or if this is just a new thing you put in on your face as a mechanism to try to get off what it is you're trying to get off. Like, we can tell. The same way that my kid can tell, because kids are the greatest, like, readers of what's wrong with you? Are you serious? Or are you just being fake? There's no need to even have a conversation. She could just say, what's up with you? I could tell your vibe. We can tell. And I think if you're somebody who is in the creative space and cherishes the gift that God's given you and recognizes how much of a through line that is for you to him, then at the end of the day, like, us honoring that dynamic through the creative process as much as we possibly can, that's always going to separate us from mainstream. It's just always going to. Mainstream is never focused on that, and it never will be. So that's why I think CHH is this weird thing, because CHH is always on the current of the world in some way, shape, or form. By trying to be opposite of what everyone else is doing when it comes to the secular world, CHH always submits itself to this current. And I just have no desire to play around with that current at all.
There's too much posturing. There's too much of this, like, in my opinion, with the Christian industry in general. There's this us and them mentality, this clear line between the sacred and secular. We are not that.
Yeah.
We are this, not that. We are this, not that. I'm like, what's the point? Like, just be what you are. Just be what you are, and let the people that resonate with it, you know? So that's why I have so many issues with the Christian music scene as a whole. I think the quality is improved. You know, there's a renaissance happening in Christian music. I think there's a lot of incredible, like, high quality Christian music that's being put out today. But I also do think that there's, like, this moral grandstanding that comes with it, and this, like, performative holiness that comes with it. And then you hear stuff about, like, people like Michael Tate, you know, and the lifestyle he was living, but everybody knew. You know what I mean? So we're all out here.
It creates this bubble. It creates this bubble that exists. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So we're all out here, just like, you're doing this Christian thing, and you've got to now, like, perform holiness to keep your audience. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't rock with that. Like, I'm not for that. You know, I don't think there should be clear delineations between this and that. I think the only, like, quote unquote Christian music that should exist is worship music, because that's music with the express purpose of like
praising God
and praising God. Like, that should be the only thing that should be considered separate from everything else. Everything else should just be music, bro. It should just be music. And there shouldn't be these clear lines of, like, this is Christian or this is not. Because I think Christian music falls into two categories. You have music for churches to praise God and for people to worship God, and you have music for a Christian audience. I have no desire to reach a Christian audience. I don't care about y'all like that. You're good. You got church. You got all this. You got a small group. You got a good community. You got all that stuff. What do I need to talk to you for? I don't need to talk to you all about that stuff. I'm trying to reach the people who are still wrestling, who are still trying to understand what's going on. You know what I mean? You will find me at a bar on a Friday night. You will find me there. If you got a problem, we can talk about it. You know what I mean? You will find me at such and such concert that people say I shouldn't go to. You will find me doing things that other quote unquote pastors and leaders aren't supposed to be doing. Why? Because that's where I feel like Jesus would be. Don't get me on. Don't get me started, bro. Jesus was a rabbi who was based in Galilee, bro. When all the other rabbis were in Jerusalem, he was where the people were at.
He was outside.
He was outside, bro. He was called a wine bibber and a glutton, because every time I saw this man, he was sitting at a table eating and drinking with people.
Facts. Fact.
Yeah, we all want to be in this little Christian box and perform our holiness and be, I'm holier than thou, and I don't cuss my music, and I don't do this. Bro, shut up, bro. Shut up. How many people that don't know Jesus are actually spending time with you? They don't want to, because you're lame. You're weird and you're lame.
And if you think we just on our soapbox talking our stuff, to connect it all the way back, it's like Timmy doesn't care about those people, right? Timmy doesn't care to cater to that crowd. I do care about catering to that crowd. Why? Because I think I want to shake them up, Medial. We want them to be upset with us, bro. I want them to be upset. I want them to take a second and be like, hold up. There's a disconnection between me and the sphere of influence I have around me when I only spend time with people who think the way I think. If you don't spend time with people who think differently than you, then you can't push yourself, especially as a creative, And I've rubbed shoulders with a couple of Christian hip hop folk and been in collaborative spaces where it's like, it's clear that, oh, this is where our collaboration ends. We cannot go beyond this point. That's all we've got limitation wise. So when we say IT department and we're trying to help you to connect, that's what the motive and the message is. The mission here is to connect the outside to the inside as much as possible, because that is how God has discipled us, both in the church and then outside with the homies on the street.
IT department previews new music for Medial.
Can we show him some new stuff?
Oh, don't tempt me, bro. I'm down.
Can we show him some IT2 stuff?
Don't tempt me, bro.
Like, because we don't have a ton, but we have some stuff that we're working on right now for the next one. We told you IT2 is coming. We weren't lying. This isn't even fully finished, but like going into like this whole idea of like we want to like connect people or tell the truth. Like this is a song that we're working on right now that I feel like people that are Christian are going to completely misconstrue, and I can't wait for them to completely misunderstand what we're talking about on the song, because at face value, it reminds me of swimming pools. It sounds like a drinking song. Okay. I just feel like kind of encapsulates what I want to do with this second project. It's like we want to push the envelope. Can you hear that? And like the idea that we have for that music video too is like it's gonna be at a party.
Look, he liked that. Look at his face. He like
it's gonna be a party.
That was it.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be at a party, and it's gonna almost look like we're celebrating like drinking, but we're not. Being honest, like I get lit sometimes.
The necessity of youth group rap.
To each his own, for sure.
Yeah, there's room for all of it.
And I
there's
love
room
that
for all of it.
All of it, bro.
There's room for all of it. Like, do the youth group kids need music to turn up to? 100%, bro. When I was in youth group, we loved Manolo. You know what I mean? Manolo went hard. That was a great song. Like, you know, shout out Triple E. You know what I mean? We needed that. You know, you need that like alternative. But I feel like sometimes it leans too much into this, like it becomes Christian music and Christian hip hop often becomes like an alternative to what's happening in the world, and becomes you're the Christian version of so and so. No, I'm IT department, boy. Don't compare me to anybody. I'm Timmy Arisa.
We're not here to talk about the alternative to the world. We're here
we're here to talk about our perspective.
Exactly.
I'm sharing my unique perspective on life as a Nigerian American, born and raised in Dallas, Texas, Christian worship leader. Like that's such a unique perspective. That sentence has never been uttered until this very moment. What does my perspective of music sound like? This is what it sounds like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What Timmy and Isaiah are listening to.
Yeah, I would say Live, Laugh, Love is definitely all I'm listening to as of the last like 6 days. I think that album is the rap album of the year. I'll fight you if you want to have that argument. We can. Right now, I really think that project, and it's not recency bias. I respect a philosopher that presents himself through the medium of rap. That's just how I am, me personally. So I've been listening to that a lot. What else am I listening to right now? Dominic Fike just dropped a project. Really enjoyed it. It's called Rocket. It's a mixtape. That's a really good one. Love Dominic Fike. Still listening to Jon Bellion's Father Figure. Definitely put that in the rotation often. Djoń just dropped a project. Still listening to his project as well. And I think there's one more. There's one more project that's been top of mind lately. I can't remember it right now. Maybe it'll come up later. But yeah, just listening to a lot of that. In the Christian sphere, I know you said not to do the barrier thing, but at the end of the day, like a lot of the Christians that I listen to are just the homies. So like Marcus dropped a couple of singles this year that I've been bumping. Sammy Off the Walls projects getting the loop all the time. So High Sounds with Timmy is dropping music, so I have that on play all the time. So yeah, a lot of that as well.
Yeah, I've been really into this kid, Nourished by Time. He's crazy. Kind of like alternative R&B kind of dude. Obviously the new Djoń record is pretty cool. Dude, Cities of Eve, I just got into him. It's pretty crazy. Man, I'm looking at my list right now. Night Tapes is really cool. I don't know. This has been the most passive listening I feel like I've ever done in my life. Like, because Spotify has a great algorithm for music discovery. And essentially what I'll do a lot of times is I'll just put on a song and just let it autoplay afterwards. And I get a lot of music that way. But this other guy, George Clinton, he's crazy. He does like kind of like this, like kind of like 90s, early 2000s inspired like trip. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it sounds straight out of like the 90s, but it's like so dope. So yeah, man, just a lot of, that's kind of, I've been more in like the alternative space. McGee, obviously, I don't like saying him though, because I just feel like he's like, so it's like cliche now, but I've been on McGee since 2020, so get off me, bro. Leave me alone. Y'all are late.
That's facts. That's facts. This is me editing this at 10 p.m. Central Time. Welcome to my home. Really hope you enjoyed this second episode of The Projection. Hope you could really hear Timmy and I's hearts behind why we even created the IT department in the first place, along with the homeboy, George Gutierrez. HGH to the gate, stop playing with me. Stay tuned. Got another episode next week, episode 3 with Griffin Stone, talking about Sword in the Stone, which comes out this Friday. So tap in Friday, the 26th September. Stop playing with us. We'll be here making music, creating. Hope you like it. Talk soon. 1.